Welcome back to Rubberducking Podcast, everyone. I am your host, Charles.
And I am your co-host, Mike.
Mr. Mike, welcome. Welcome
Yeah,
back
well,
to the
thank
show.
you. Thank you for having me back, and I'm so
Yeah.
glad we're back in session.
I know, yes, yeah. Thank you so much for joining. We've got a lot of, I guess not a lot, but just my story for you. Just humble the
Crazy.
story for you. And oh, Mike, did I tell you?
Uh-huh.
We've got a Patreon now.
Oh,
So,
we do?
Yes, we do. We have a Patreon. So why did we create Patreon? Well, so to create better engagement with our audience, right? So from Patreon, I am going to link a Discord where you
Okay.
can join to our Discord and ask questions, and you get to chat with me. Just ask questions live, and I'll be able to answer your questions. And if you also want me to feature your questions in our podcast, we can do that as well.
Amazing.
It's actually to join my membership. It's gonna be $4, but for the first 100 members, I'm going to be lowering it to $2.
Wow,
That's the
50% off.
50% off.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
hopefully I'll see you guys there, and I'll see you there, Mike, too.
All right. Well, I better be there. Well, I can I ask you an unprepared question?
Yes. Go
All
for
right.
it.
So I know that, and I don't know if our audience knows this. So Charles is also an avid gamer. So he's seen often on Discord, and I have to ask.
That's right.
Once we get this going, will
Yes.
you stream what you're doing over there as well?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
All
I'm
right.
gonna be streaming whatever I'm doing at the time. I'll stream.
Okay,
Yes.
awesome. Well, yeah, I know that initially when we were broadcasting that we are not going to ask for money yet. And I think as we continue to do this, there are, of course, your
Yep.
support just by giving us that, $2 subscription would really help us be sustainable and
going.
continuing to be able to tell our story. But we will also continue to more stories from other people who had
That's right. Other
similar stories
refugees.
as you.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
thank you in advance for all the loyal members. Can't wait to see you there.
Yes. Okay. So let's dive right into my story. So last time we left off of at me buying a car, a junk car. I got scammed.
Uh-huh.
But it begs the question. Like, in order to buy a car, you have to have a license, right?
That's
Let's
right.
get into it.
Yeah,
Let's
I can't wait.
Actually, let's get into getting the license, right? So, I think somewhere in the podcast, I mentioned about living with this Korean guy, right? And then eventually he have left to South Korea, and then I had to get out of the house. And then I ended up living with this a white guy named Kevin. And very general white guy named Kevin.
I don't know. When I hear Kevin, I think of an Asian guy because that was the last Kevin I knew.
Yeah, there's a lot of Kevin. So
That's right.
so
Great name.
Great name.
Uh-huh.
Amazing name. And he had like 1970 like Toyota Corolla.
Wow. 1970?
Yeah, so it's like
Classic.
a really old,
Uh-huh.
or maybe like 80s.
Interesting.
Like
All right. Yeah.
And it was really old, and the car had actually a like automatic seatbelt.
Oh, I've been in one of those. That's pretty cool. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's like whenever you open the car door, the seatbelt just goes up, right?
Yep.
And then whenever you close it, it comes
Automatically.
down.
Yeah,
It was pretty cool. It was really cool.
Mhm.
So anyway, I don't know. It's just like, when I was in North Korea, like I've seen cars, and I thought it was a fascinating kind of thing where you
Uh-huh.
can actually drive a car. Like, yeah. So like when I first came to America, the first thing that I really, really wanted to do is like actually like see if I can get a car and driver's license and everything.
Mhm.
So because I was like over 18,
Mhm.
like I didn't have to the DMV didn't require me to actually get this training, right?
That's right. You didn't have to take driver's ed or
Yeah,
do
driver's
the
ed.
training with an instructor, right?
That's right. Yeah, I just needed to take the writing test.
Right.
And then I needed to go for the behind the wheel test.
Uh-huh.
I struggled to actually pass the written test.
What? Wait. So
Yeah.
I know that there are options, at least now, because they've made things digital now, and you can pick a language you're gonna take it in.
Mhm.
Did you take it in Korean?
I think I took it both, like
Well,
English
interesting.
and Korean, and I failed both.
Oh no.
Like I don't know like right turn, left turn, or like it's like
Uh-huh.
driving
Oh.
concept does not make sense to me.
Wow. You know
Right.
what? That is really interesting because you really haven't been in a car all that much
Right.
in Korean or in English, right? So like
Right.
those like making a turn, like
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
those are very special terms.
Right. Right. And also like
Oh.
signs, right?
Mm.
And like a different signs. Like I did study a lot, right? I
Uh-huh.
did study a lot, but it just didn't stick with me.
Right, because you didn't grow up with that. Like
Right.
when people study from the United States, like those are signs you saw since you were a little child walking
Right, because
around.
like your parents were to
Yeah,
drive you
and-
around, and also like you're walking around and you see the signs and like,
Uh-huh.
oh yeah, that's a stop sign. Oh yeah, that's like that's like a train pass, or
Uh-huh.
don't pass, or no left turn, protected right turn, left turn, something like that.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
So I don't know any of that,
Mm.
and I recall I failed at least like 2 times, like, and then you had to okay, so when you pay for the written license, like I remember, like you can take 3 times for free.
That is correct.
Right? And then the third time you fail,
Uh-huh.
you have to pay like another like $70 or
Right,
something
it's
like
like
that.
whole new application process. Essentially, you have to start over. That's what
Right,
it is.
right,
I know
right.
this because my
Yeah.
sister had to do that.
I see. So so I was like, yeah, I pay for it, and then I failed like twice, and then the third time I was like, oh my gosh, if I fail this time, like I'm just gonna take a rest for a while. I don't need a
Mm.
license.
Uh-huh.
I'm just gonna save up some more money, and it's
I
okay.
see.
I'm gonna ride a bicycle.
Uh-huh.
And I went in, and then I passed it.
Third time.
Third time, yeah. So
Nice.
third time was the charm.
All
So I
right.
passed it in the third time, and then I've got the permit, right? The
Uh-huh.
temporary permit, and then now I can actually drive the car. So with
Mhm.
my white friend Kevin,
Mhm.
he took me out, and then we went to the parking lot and with the
Oh,
old
nice.
Toyota, and he taught me how to drive.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, it was very fun. It was surreal moment of driving.
Mm-mm.
I get to control a car, and I remember like when I was going on the highway, or no, it wasn't a highway. It was actually so I was driving down, and somebody was coming out as a T section, right? So
Uh-huh.
I'm in the horizontal lane,
Uh-huh.
and there is another guy coming out of a different lane.
Uh-huh.
And I was very scared. I was like slowing down
Uh-huh.
because like I don't know if that person was gonna hit me or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And Kevin was telling me like, "Oh, have a benefit of the doubt. It's okay. That person, you have the right of way, so that person does not. So he has to wait." And then yeah, so I was like, I was
Hmm.
literally slowing down, right?
Uh-huh.
Because like I mean, I have the right of way,
Yeah,
like-
right.
but I was like slowing down. It was night too,
Mm.
so I saw the headlight and I got scared.
Uh-huh.
That's why I slowed down. But he's
Uh-huh.
like, yeah, don't slow down. You have the right of way. So like
Uh-huh.
have a benefit of the doubt. So
Yeah.
trust that guy. Just go.
Ooh, that's bad advice actually.
Right? It's like
It's actually bad advice. Yeah. Mhm.
benefit
Yeah,
of the doubt. You
yeah,
never
no,
want to do
no,
that.
no, no, no.
Never want to do that. You want to be sure when
No,
you're in
yeah.
a car.
I mean, driving defensively, like everyone out there is like out there to ram you. You know, that's how
Yeah.
you're supposed to drive. I think, especially when you're starting out. But yeah. So what happened?
Well, yeah. So with the behind the wheel test, I passed it the first time.
Dang.
yeah, so I did
Okay, so you actually did not get T-boned that time that you were slowing down.
No,
Oh,
I didn't get
okay.
T-boned.
I
Yeah,
thought you
no,
were
no,
leading up to
yeah,
something there.
yeah. No,
Oh,
no,
but and then you passed it the first time.
I did. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So okay, for my sister actually was the behind the wheel test that was the trouble, not the written test.
Ah, gotcha.
And I passed the behind the wheel third time.
Oh,
Passed
the
them the
trouble.
third time. I mean-
the trouble like driving in America too.
I mean, I didn't have that much experience. Like first time I took
Yeah.
it, I only had about like 10 hours of practice. So
Yeah, yeah.
But
You know what it might have been, right? Because
Yeah.
like they give you like points, like it's point based, right?
right.
So with the automatic seatbelt,
Uh-huh.
that's like already like 1 point, a plus 1 point.
You didn't. I mean, okay, you
I-
got that. The machine did that for you.
Yeah, no, I feel like it was kind of like a barely passing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because
Huh.
I don't. He didn't tell me like, oh, like what point you got, but
No,
what I
you
was
don't.
in,
You don't. Yeah, you don't get told that. I don't.
yeah,
think.
I don't. Yeah, I don't know what point I got, but I remember So the car was very old and very dirty. It was like
Uh-huh.
very trashy, like never cleaned. There's like bottles everywhere.
Oh
It's like
no.
like a
Okay.
water bottle and
Uh-huh.
like a soda bottles
And you
like
didn't take that
everywhere.
out before you take the test?
I, cause like my thought was like, oh, maybe like we'll just drive around and then like go back.
Uh-huh.
But actually it's like, oh yeah, why don't we go? Yeah, and I don't think we had an appointment either.
Oh, you were
I
just
don't.
able to show up somehow?
Yeah, I think that's what I remember. Like
Huh.
I didn't make an appointment for it. I think I
Oh.
just like showed up.
Oh, interesting. Or maybe they had an opening.
I can't quite remember.
Okay. Well, maybe you did.
Maybe I did.
you
Maybe
just
I
forgot
did.
about
But I
the
just like
appointment.
I just like didn't clean the car.
Oh.
But it wasn't my car either. It was
right.
Kevin's
Yeah,
car.
it is what you yeah.
And then I remember like the inspector actually came out
Uh-huh.
and then he looked into our car
Uh-huh.
and then he went out and then he wears like gloves, white
What?
gown,
Oh my goodness.
like a lab coat. It's like,
Wow. He
Yeah,
came
it's
back
like-
in a hazmat suit.
yeah, it's like, oh, gross. But anyway, at that point I was like, oh, like the nunchi, right? I have the nunchi, and like, dang, that's already like lost 2 points right there.
Yeah.
I felt like that,
I see.
but thankfully, he actually let me pass.
Wow.
Yeah, so yeah, I passed it in the first try.
Yeah. Wow. I
But
mean,
written
Charles is a
test-
good driver. You are, as far as I can
Oh,
tell.
thank you.
So I've been in your car. Felt pretty safe.
Well, I
yeah.
used to drive Uber as well, and Uber Lyft.
You used to drive professionally.
Right, and also
Right.
I used to work as a driving instructor in
That's right.
Cupertino as well for like 3 months.
Ah, okay.
So, right after purchasing the car, right?
Which one?
The
Audi? Or
Audi,
okay,
Audi
yeah,
4,
uh-huh.
and then it all got messed up, and then eventually that car got totaled, and then I went to the Honda dealership,
Yeah.
and then I've purchased a brand new Honda for
That's
like
right.
$24,000. Did I tell you that?
Yeah, you did tell this story, and then you
Yeah.
also told us that you had like 25% interest rate on that thing.
That's right. That's right.
Wild.
And it was insane amount of. So I feel like I almost like a $32,000 like in Honda Civic.
Ooh.
Honda Civic.
Wow.
Civic. Yeah, it's
Wow.
not Accord. Yeah. And while I was working at the sushi restaurant, like that lady has like heard how much I paid
Mm-hmm.
for the car, and then she was like, "Oh my gosh, you got ripped off." You
Oh
got
yeah,
ripped off
absolutely.
really
Yeah.
bad.
Really badly. Uh-huh.
And I was also going to a coding boot camp, and then because I had to pay like insurance and car payments, and that's why I kept driving Uber, Lyft.
That must have been like $1,000 a month or something altogether.
It was like 700.
Yeah, no, I believe
yeah.
it. Dang.
Yeah, 500 for the car payments, and then
Uh-huh.
like 200 for like insurance,
My goodness.
and then like gas.
Right,
Because I
of
was
course.
driving Uber and Lyft,
Oh,
and
right.
then, like,
oh, yeah.
and I would make like a $200 a night, but I wouldn't drive like every day.
Right,
I would drive
yeah.
like a weekend,
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, to be honest, like that's what I love about like America, right? It's like entrepreneurship. Like you can literally choose like what to do, right? Like nowadays, I mean, there is a lot more of like a flexibility of like you can choose like with Uber, like delivery apps, like Uber Eats, DoorDash, like Instacart,
Right.
and Uber and Lyft, of course. You can work as like a delivery or like a driver, and there's so many options out there. But I think for me it was like driving was fun, but also at the same time I didn't feel like that's what I was gonna do for the rest of my life.
Good. Yeah.
And I don't know. I feel like, yeah, at that, like, I got really depressed, right? Like, it was in that, like, after graduating high school and purchasing these cars and all in this kind of season in my life that I got depressed. And I think the reason why, it's like, when you think about, like, so when I came to America, like I didn't know what savings was, right? Like like a saving, like I didn't have the concept of like money saving, like like because I was taught to live like I mean I live like day by day, right? I didn't have the concept of like saving and concept of like investment. And one of the reasons why I got depressed, I think was because I was broke.
Yeah.
And the reason why I was broke is because like I was keep spending money.
Right.
And the reason why I was keep spending money was because like if I have this new thing,
Mm.
it might change like my environment, right? That's like
Oh,
a
yeah, you talked about that.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a
Changing
like
the environment.
owning something new
Uh-huh.
made me feel like having a different environment, right?
Uh-huh.
It's like having a different bedroom or
Uh-huh.
like changing up the. I guess it's like a kind of like a retail therapy
Oh,
in a
yeah,
way.
that's right.
While I
Yeah.
was broke.
Well, yeah,
um,
that's right. That's a dangerous combo. And I have actually a question for you here. I realized sharing your story, um, obviously difficult situation, perhaps not to the North Korea level, but this is still like financial stress, right? Although some might say that like, well, that's way better than North Korea. It's a different kind of a stress, right?
mhm,
It's also
mhm.
very like life, almost in a way life threatening, right? How much anxiety you live in and
Yeah,
how depressed you can get.
yeah.
And add that to your desire of wanting to change environment or own new things. I recognize that you still worked for everything that you've had, like
Mhm.
whether it was loan or whatever else, right? Like you still like worked honestly to pay for that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
in the past episodes, you talked about how in order to make a living, you joined other kids on the street, and they kind of essentially taught you how to steal. Not that you
Mhm,
couldn't do it,
mhm, mhm.
but at some point something must have crossed your mind such that like, oh, like maybe you steal, or maybe you don't do things so honestly. Like, I mean, I'm sure the temptation must have crossed your mind. I mean, I see that you're just naturally very a man of integrity, but other than that, how come,
Yeah,
right, you are
yeah.
able to stick to just honest work and paying for the car or whatever that you wanted to get?
That's such a great question. Yeah. I mean, I guess, I guess stealing was in my blood. Some people
Oh,
actually enjoy that. Like some
right.
people
You get a
actually
kick
really
out of it.
enjoy, yeah, stealing things
Yeah.
and um like both because they don't have like they don't have certain things, but
Mm-hmm.
also they just do it because it's fun.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
um but I think for me, I just I just like hated having the guilt of like I
Oh.
stole this,
Mm.
right? And what if that person is looking for it,
Uh-huh.
right?
Uh-huh.
And
And
like
it probably would be.
yeah, right. And then
Yeah.
like how would I feel like if somebody stole this thing from me?
Oh wow.
Like how would I feel,
Oh wow.
right? And yeah, you're right. It sucked.
Oh
Like
yeah, I bet it does.
having to like really, like working like 8 hours. Well, right after high school, like working my butt off, but still being broke. It
Oh yeah.
sucked.
Uh-huh.
And not being able to trying to spend money, but I don't have any money to spend. It sucked.
Yeah. Right.
And it just day by day, it's like I'm working, but why am I still broke? It's
Yeah.
like
Right.
I feel like I need to work even harder to be more broke. And it was I feel like it was like a vicious cycle.
It is.
And
Yeah.
I mean, like 50% of Americans still lives on like paycheck to paycheck, right?
Right.
And that's something. It's just capitalism. I think
Uh-huh.
I don't think we can do anything about that unless like we have an idea and we actually um like how do you say, like a blooming the idea, or like a you capitalize on your ideas
Uh-huh.
and kind of like let's build an app, right? Let's
Right.
build an app and write a code, build an app and sell the app and then make money off of that, like
Right.
things like that.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, this, by the way, is a nonsensical phrase. It was originally, I think, came about to just make fun of people saying this, but or thinking this, like pick yourself up by your bootstraps.
Mm.
Right? It's kind of in part an idea of American success. Like you do it yourself, right? You
Mm.
figure something out. Um, but I think, I think in a way, right? Like you figured your way out, but the fact that you had all these experiences of people almost like actively coming after you. You talked about how moment you walked into the dealership, the
Yeah.
guy
Mm-hmm.
salesman's like
Uh-huh.
eyes turned into
Dollar sign.
dollar signs, and for the people who are not well educated on personal finance or
Mhm.
finance in general, or are in these vulnerable states, it seems that capitalism has its own ways of really screwing them over almost
Yeah.
perpetually. And I'm really
Yeah.
glad you made it out. And I also, but I also feel like this episode is probably what a lot of people would resonate with you, because they never experienced the hunger of North Korea, but a lot of people in America have experienced what it is like to be robbed of the opportunities because they
Yeah.
lack the money
Yeah.
or education, and just being, like you said, in that vicious cycle.
Yeah. And I mean, like, not just like autos, right? Like, not just the finance with like financing a car. It's
Uh-huh.
about like a credit card too.
Oh yeah.
Like, if you don't read like really carefully of what the credit card companies actually like APRs that they're offering you,
That's right.
it's like 31%. It's like, and the minimum payments, like if you don't pay off the credit card, like at the like a statement cycle,
Mm-hmm.
like that 31%, it like really kills you.
Oh, absolutely.
Like,
You'll
it
never get out
actually-
of it. Yeah.
Yeah, so and that's why they always like ask you to pay just the minimum payments.
Yeah.
That's fine, but
Yeah, but it
credit card
really
companies
isn't.
actually love that. And I
Alright.
have also some. Well, while I was actually buying all those cars and
Uh-huh.
whatnot,
Yeah.
I had a Patelco credit union. I'm not sure if you know. It's like a small credit.
No, I don't think I've. Yeah.
Yeah,
worked
it's like
with
a.
them, or-
it's-
but may have
and
seen
I-
it.
Yeah, credit union.
Uh-huh.
And I got a credit card. It kind of felt like to me like a free money.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Like,
no,
I don't-
I get that.
I didn't get the concept of like in North Korea too. Like, even though I didn't steal,
Uh-huh.
like there is a thing called wesang,
Right. So
And
it's
there's
like
a
putting it on your tab
Right.
and never closing it.
but 목티, 먹고치기.
Yeah.
And maybe like
So that's a concept of a dine and dash for those of audiences, which probably are most that are not Koreans. It's kind of like a dine and dash, but we use that word to say anytime anybody just bolts after owing some money or service.
I don't know. It felt strangely like, oh yeah, credit card. Like, it's like there's a one great Family Guy episode where this Peter Griffin talks about like how his credit card debt, but anyway, I may actually just link that for somewhere.
Yeah,
like
sure.
Patreon, but yeah, I was saying that credit cards and like the owning a car,
Mhm.
it's like it could really screw you over, and
Right.
that's one thing that I'm still like learning
Mhm.
and also like paying for it. The mistake that I've made
Uh-huh.
in my past, I'm
Uh-huh.
still carrying that mistake and still
Yeah.
carrying that burden
Wow.
until this day.
Wow.
And I'm like, I gotta tell people about this. Don't open a credit card.
Right.
But I mean, like, if you can pay, like, if you can just completely pay off, like, at the end of the
That's right.
the statement cycle,
Uh-huh.
credit card is like great way to build your credit, and it's a
Absolutely,
great way for
yeah.
you to, it's free.
It's called being a deadbeat customer, because from a credit cards company's perspective, if you pay off your credit card bill to the full extent every month, then you're not owing them any money.
Yeah.
You're not paying any interest.
That's right.
So the credit card companies often have these like benefits cashback, right? So you're actually taking money from them.
That's right.
So
yeah.
Of
yeah,
course, credit card companies hate this little trick
Yeah.
of actually paying off your credit debt.
Yeah.
But again, like it's for many people, it might be easier said than done kind of a situation, because I find myself very privileged to be able to live and have learned such a way that I don't live with any debt currently. But some people, they have
A lot of-
families, and then
yeah.
other than using credit cards or maxing them out, or even like borrowing from other less reputable sources, that's the only way to say get your kid to see a doctor, right? Or
yeah.
afford food. So yeah, very it can be really heartbreaking, and
Yeah.
get people to the levels of feeling like it's just as bad as being in North Korea. In fact, there are people who have ended up in South Korea through resettlement, escaping and resettlement, and I think there was at least one case of somebody who wanted to go back to North Korea,
Yeah.
because the financial stresses of capitalism was too hard to bear.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's a great point that you bring that up, because back in 2015, so South Korean like a governmental program actually conducted a survey of like measuring the happiness of North Korean defectors, because there were at the time about 32,000 North Korean defectors were settled in South Korea, and more than 50% of North Korean defectors said, "I'm not happy here."
More than 50%.
More than 50%.
Wow.
So more than half of them said, yeah, I'm not happy here. And I can actually vouch for that because friend of mine, well, many friends, not just one friend, but they resettled in South Korea and they get, financial help from the not regime, government. South Korea, well, almost it became regime.
I know, one president sure tried.
But after the money ran out, like he didn't know how to save, he didn't know how to work, right? And right after that,
really similar situation as you,
as I did, and he, instead of like powering through, like trying to find something to actually work, like, do something with, he actually went out of country and he resettled in Germany. Because like they have like a free education, free healthcare,
right? Okay,
and free, so he actually resettled there illegally. And then I'm not sure what happened now, but that's not unique. It's very common amongst like North Korean communities, and even in LA as well. There are over 2,000 North Korean refugees that living here illegally.
That's a lot. 2,000.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. And some of the North Korean like friends that I know in South Korea, they don't even tell people that they're from North Korea because
there's a stigma.
Right? Stigma of like, oh, you're from North Korea, then you must living off of our tax money, kind of like thing.
Right.
So, well, that's another whole topic to talk about. But at least for now, we gotta talk about my story.
That's right. Back to the story.
Yes, back to the story. So, coding bootcamp. Right. Let's talk about coding.
Okay. Yeah. So you talked a little bit about how you got introduced to it, right? I believe.
Yeah. And while I was at coding bootcamp, like honestly, like I didn't speak a good of English at the time, right? And while attending coding bootcamp, like I learned English plus the coding, like Django and React and like a min stack, like Angular,
Wow.
But one thing that was very challenging for me was the drive. Like I mean, literally like coming back and forth.
How far was the drive?
Like
one
hour
way?
and 20 minutes one way.
Hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So oftentimes, like I would stay back at the coding bootcamp, and I would sleep there during the week, like during the weekdays on the couch. And then like early morning, like I would like get up and then I would drink coffee and I would just do it again.
Dang.
So like I didn't really like the repetitive, like a reps, like repetitive. Like I enjoy like repetitiveness.
Oh,
like
the routine that it gave
routines,
you?
like over and over and over again, kind of. So I enjoy doing like same thing over and over again. So I think that's what worked out for me. Like like learning one thing and then just like repeating that over and over again until I understood.
I see. It becomes yours.
Yeah, becomes mine. Yeah. So like we had this a final project. It's called The Wall. Literally.
The wall? Wait, were you building the wall? Is that?
We're not building the wall. It's like a Facebook clone.
I
but
see.
because it's so tough to climb, that's why we called it The Wall.
Oh, interesting. Wow.
Yeah. So like we're building like a Facebook with like adding friends, posting
that's a robust project.
Yeah, posting like a blog and then commenting it and deleting the comments, and then we can add friends, and remove friends and many to many, one to many. So all these kind of good things. And sure, I didn't pass it, like I didn't do it the first time, but after doing over and over and over and over again, like I got the concept, like I really enjoyed it. Like I really enjoy doing those kind of things. And that's why I was like, you know what, I think I'm gonna continue in the coding, like coding.
So you found that could be your path forward for your career.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, after coding, like after graduating from that coding bootcamp, like I had this tremendous hope, right? Of like, you know what, I'm gonna work at eBay, I'm gonna work at Apple,
the world's your oyster now.
I'm gonna work at Google,
why didn't you?
Nobody accepted me.
Aww.
So I would. Here's what happened, right? Right after graduating coding bootcamp, like I was sending my resume and a cover letter to like eBay, PayPal, Google,
Yeah.
like all of these like big like Fortune 500 companies, right?
Yeah.
And then as a backup, like I would put in all these startups.
Yeah.
Startups, like I would like put in
Mm-hmm.
startups. And I would have like an interview, and like I didn't even get like a first round interview from the big Fortune 500 companies. Like
Interesting.
I don't know. It's just like I've never got back.
Well, they're
heard
lost.
back. And then I would get this a startup interviews, and I don't know, maybe like I guess my English wasn't good enough, or the way that I explain like certain things didn't like wasn't what they're looking for. So it ended up not working out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I had to go work as a driving instructor, because like I couldn't find a job in development. Like I tried for 6 months, and like I'm literally living off of like, you know, like a savings.
Yeah,
and
you're
also
you're
plus the like I'm driving Uber right now,
I
and
see.
and Lyft, and then like I needed to find something more robust and sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up working for this driving instructor school. And then while I was working in driving school, I had this opportunity to talk with a Tanbi, which was the friend of mine who actually introduced me to coding bootcamp. And she invited me to Liberty in North Korea gala.
That's where is that where Link comes in?
That's right. Yeah, Link in 2017. So I was like, ooh, let me check it out. And then I went down to Long Beach, and I attended the gala. And then I made friends with Hannah Song, which was the CEO of the Liberty in North Korea. And I worked at Link for a while, like 2 years.
But you started, so you got introduced to CEO, and I know that your first role there was a IT intern. Okay,
that's
so
right.
How did that job come about? Was it just Hannah just offer you the job, or?
So what happened was that Liberty North Korea actually wrote a few blogs about me. It's like, oh yeah, the North Korean, like, and also before I even like went to gala, Link, I knew about Link for a while, right? Because actually Link was the one who introduced me to coding bootcamp, right? And so they wrote like blogs about me, and they sent me around to like do like testimonies to like Belgium and different like places.
Yeah.
And I knew about Link, and then right after graduating coding bootcamp, like there was certain opportunities. Like that. Well, not right away, but like after a while later, they finally opened up a position like IT intern. So I saw that, and I was like, you know what? Let me just apply for it and see what happens. And then I applied for it, and then I got accepted.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and what helped was that I was at the gala, and then I attended the gala, you know, and you know, met Hannah Song.
Right, you had that connection. And remind me, was that IT intern a paid position?
No, it was unpaid.
Not.
So
really, IT volunteer.
IT volunteer. That's right. It's like
uh-huh.
getting like an experience.
I see.
Like that's where I actually learned a little bit of Salesforce, which what I do now.
Wow.
So it's there's kind of like a great like a connections, like it's like a connection point, I guess. Well, believe it or not, we are at time.
That's right. I mean, I have to hear about how you went from an unpaid IT volunteer and
to
made it here, you know.
Right. So I actually moved on to another position called the Advocacy Fellow.
Okay. Well, I guess that's for the next episode, how you advocated and did fellowship. All right.
Well, thank you so much for joining. And I hope to see you guys in the next episode. And please check out the Patreon page. It's called Charles, North Korea.
All right. And Discord coming soon to hang out with you as well.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. I'll see you there.
Bye.